Oh, mate.
It's a party today.
We got the vibes going on today. You know what I'm saying, dude?
First double guest.
Yes.
Double guest. Let's go.
Let's go.
You're gonna have to bleep that.
Oh, yeah, because the F word in the first 30 seconds.
You guys don't use curse words?
No, we do, but it's in the first
In
30
the
seconds.
Okay,
first 30 seconds.
It'll get
They'll
you
demonetize.
demonetized on YouTube.
I got you.
So today is going to be a special episode. We have these awesome young brothers with us today, Marki and Bobby.
Yeah.
In order. Is that in order? No, wait. It's
Yeah,
usually left
Marki
order.
right here.
No, I mean from their perspective.
Oh, I'm
It would be
Bob.
Bobby and Marki.
The McGann brothers.
And just going to kind of set up like what we're doing here today, why we're all together and blah, 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 all that shit. So my brother reaches out to me, Jeremy, and says, "Hey, bro, I've got some friends I'd really like you to meet. They're really cool guys. They listen to your show." And I'm like, "Awesome. Sounds great." And he's like, met them online. We've been friends. Like, what have y'all been friends? Like 10 years?
10 years or
10
so,
years,
yeah.
yeah. Just like playing WoW.
Oh, yeah, you guys met on WoW, right?
I think so. League or
WoW or League.
something.
It might have been League.
Yeah.
Because Jeremy's also, he was really into League back in the day. He's always into WoW.
That's sick.
And he's like, they're just these cool guys. And like, they got moved out near me in Fayetteville or whatever. And it's enough context for them on the internet. And basically, like, we're friends in real life now. Got to meet up. So we met up over Christmas and we got to talking. And Marki and Bobby have some incredible insight and experiences into what it was like growing up a very, like, I don't know what you could say, spiritual life in the Mormon faith, which, is it correct in saying you're not not practicing Mormons anymore?
Yeah, not practicing.
Okay,
Mormons,
cool. But anyway, so grew up into Mormonism, and then somehow or another we started talking about demonic possession stories in Argentina.
Yeah.
So this is going to be kind of a wild one.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, so just that's kind of it, and we're going to hit the ground running from there. So Marki and Bobby, thanks for hanging with us today.
Absolutely.
I kind of just wanted to like give you guys the floor to set up like how you got into all this shit, you know, just wherever you want to go.
Were you guys raised as kids, like from the start in the Mormon church?
Go ahead.
Yeah. So, our parents are converts. Bobby and Sammy, Bobby, my older brother, and my oldest sister Sammy, they're all converts. I'm technically the only one that was born in the faith.
Interesting.
So yeah, I think the family joined the church when Bobby was like 8 months old. Or
I
something like
was a baby. 1 year
Yeah.
old, so.
But they
But-
still count that as a convert?
I guess so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, you couldn't even give them the 8 months?
Yeah. Yeah, okay, we'll forgive you.
Yeah.
Whatever.
But yeah, so we were raised as pretty strict Mormons up until about the age of I don't know, what'd you say?
I don't know, the rebellious age.
Yeah,
like the teenage years?
Around when we
Yeah.
became teenagers, and it was
About when you start
becoming
thinking about
harder
girls
for-
and shit?
right,
Yeah, that's
exactly.
true, yeah.
But yeah, we kind of had a couple different experiences with Mormonism. Depending on which state you live in, Mormonism may be different. So we were born and raised in Ohio. I think I lived there till I was about 8, and Bobby was 9 when we left. But the culture of Mormonism is different in Ohio than it was.
Interesting.
From when we moved to Virginia. We lived in Northern Virginia after that, and I guess the different ways that people approach Mormonism was vastly different. It was a little bit more casual in Ohio. Maybe I'm just perceiving it that way because I was younger.
Yeah.
But yeah, in Virginia, it seemed a lot more like the church was a lot more organized, and there were. I'll let you.
Yeah, I'd say in Virginia it was a lot more. I don't want to say strict, but everything was like more together. So there were leaders that would check up on you, and there was youth groups, and you could go to activities. There's a lot of stuff that you could really do within the church that would keep you active in the church. And to say that, I'd say that that's like the church at 90% capacity, or like all hands on, and then you go to Utah and it's like 110%. Everyone's like super
Didn't it originate in Utah? Like,
It actually originated in Ohio.
In like New York-ish. New
New-
York,
yeah.
Ohio-ish, Pennsylvania.
And just let me clarify, you were a missionary, correct?
Yeah, I was
Okay,
a missionary for 2 years in Argentina.
Yeah, just to be clear, I did not serve a 2-year mission.
I didn't
Bobby
either.
was
but
the only one that did. But yeah,
I don't think any of us did either.
So to give some context about what a missionary or whatever that is, in the church, it's customary for a young man or a young woman when they get to a certain age, like 19, 20.
Pretty much when you graduate high school.
Pretty much when you're out of... for the design of like spreading the word to other people, but probably also to keep you out of trouble in those years.
Yeah.
But you pretty much, so the Mormon Church has a prophet, and the prophet gets like your, I guess, Mormon resume, and they tell you like where you're gonna go in the world. They pray on it, and they tell you where you're gonna go.
Wait. I didn't know this. So you're saying that there is at any given time like a living prophet of Mormonism?
Yes, there is always
kind of like
prophet.
a pope kind of figure. Interesting.
So the first one was Joseph Smith, and then there's like I don't know how many.
See, I didn't know
Thomas
that.
S. Monson was the most recent prophet, but he passed away a couple of years
Russell
ago.
M. Nelson is the current one.
president.
And I'm gonna
Yeah.
I'm gonna level with you guys. Like, admittedly, we don't know a whole lot about Mormonism.
Yeah, for sure.
Like,
I know very little. I had a couple friends growing up, and like when you're a kid, you don't deep dive with your friends.
For sure, no.
What is that?
It's odd topic.
Right.
From the outside,
Yeah.
from the outside, you always know that those Mormons, they're just the nicest kids in school.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how it was.
And
I would
athletic
say.
too sometimes.
A lot of them played. I think education and physical activity or sports or musical talent is heavily pushed.
Yeah, pretty much all of our friends in high school that were Mormon were involved in, scouting or sports or, some sort of extracurricular that would
Piano,
get
whatever it
them
was.
further.
That
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense from like my growing up, having friends. I had some pretty close friends at the time in high school who were Mormon, and they were all like either athletes or musical.
So the
or-
Very active people.
the church pushes that. Like they want you to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think it more comes down to like encouraging members to live as healthy as a lifestyle as you can.
maybe like
For
good
sure.
character kind
Cool.
of thing too.
I think it's
Right.
also to like broaden your perspective of the world and like finding things that you enjoy, or because I guess life is meant to be enjoyed. So I mean, when you're a kid, you have all the time in the world to waste time on
Yeah, do whatever.
football or lacrosse or whatever it was.
Draw,
So
Right.
scribble.
I mean, why not try everything and say what you don't like or do like?
I like that perspective.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I'd say it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's
But-
awesome, dude.
Yeah.
But it's definitely more strict out in, I'd say, Utah. And
Yeah, so I actually I lived in Utah for a little more than a year. So the groupthink in Utah when it comes to Mormonism is a lot more prevalent. It seems that the Mormons act more as a monolith in Utah than they do in other
2001, bro. I'm just kidding.
but yeah, in other states, it seems like there's different ideologies and different perspectives within Mormonism, and it's not so unified.
for sure.
Yeah.
That's wild. So last week, it could have been the week before. I'm always fuzzy on the day to day, but I was explaining to my wife Jenny, like kind of what y'all were about, because the day we met back over Christmas, if you remember, she didn't really come hang out with us until like the end of the night, and she didn't really get to hear like y'all's background and stuff. And we were talking about it, and she was like, wow, I didn't know Mormonism was this complex.
Yeah, it's
So what did I do? I showed her the South Park episode.
Yeah, just to be clear, like it's so complex, we don't even
There's a
have
lot
a
of
complete
stuff to-
understanding of what
Yeah, he was
Mormonism
just showing
is.
me like we brought. I mean, we have some props on the. That's not in the shot, is it? The table.
I don't know. Who knows? That
It's
is?
cool. Yeah.
Cool,
so
cool,
like,
cool.
just I'm not gonna read from
Yeah,
it,
you're
Bobby.
good,
I
you're
wouldn't
good.
do that or be disrespectful or anything. But we brought this as a prop today, his Book of Mormon, and we were just thumbing through it before we started, and there are straight up like Egyptian hieroglyphs in here,
A lot of
telling stories that are clearly not in the Bible, and like, it's just profound how esoterically inspired Mormonism is. So
Yeah, I never knew.
if you want to speak to any of that,
For sure. There's a lot of
can-
sure.
up to you.
So not only is the Bible's in here. That's mainly why it's so big. But
Right.
there's also the Book of Mormon, which is a fairly large book. And then after like the Book of Mormon was, I guess, transcribed or translated by Joseph Smith, the first Mormon prophet, he also had a bunch of revelations from God for the church, and that's what he calls the Doctrine and Covenants, which is a separate book of just a lot of stuff is like day-to-day stuff or just how, say, like the body of Christ should be administered, scriptures like that, or blessings of people or prayers, or just there's a bunch of random stuff in there, but also some deep doctrine. And then there's also the Pearl of Great Price, which is a book of transcribed documents that Joseph Smith acquired from a sarcophagus of Egyptians. I'm not sure if it was
Did he
Abraham.
really like find sarcophagi?
He had people that would go out and buy sarcophaguses.
But like real historical
Whoa.
with mummies in them?
yes, with mummies in them. He
Wow.
found I don't know how true or how accurate I can speak to this, but I want to say that he did pray to find a certain manuscript or something from these, and he ended up finding more manuscripts similar to like the Dead Sea Scrolls of the books of Abraham, Moses, and it gives us more clarification on like the books of Genesis, and then more of Exodus. I can't remember the other books, but
Leviticus,
and
Like
Numbers.
Leviticus numbers, things like that.
a lot of that type of stuff, and then more accounts of Abraham and his lineage through the priesthood and
Right.
and more of that. So that's about all I can speak to it for now. But
I want to know.
Yeah.
I want to know, like, so we talk about a lot on the show. Ryan and I grew up Christian. You were Pentecostal. I was more like, for a while we were Anglican, which is like close to Catholicism.
Which was fun.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's fun. And my grandparents are still Anglican, but a lot of it was non-denominational churches and stuff. And we talk a lot about some religious like trauma from growing up in these organized religions. But I just want to know, not necessarily from that angle, but what was the like feeling or experience like growing up in the Mormon church? Like, did you always feel positive about it? Were there mixed feelings of negativity?
Yeah, so that's a great question.
Yeah.
I had a lot of friends that really did struggle with Mormonism in the upbringing because there is a strong desire to try to control, your habits and the way you
Right.
live your daily life. So that does, impede on your, ability to be a free,
Like a
young
free
adult.
thinking.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you want to experience, life in the way that, you would naturally, and you don't necessarily want to be confined to all these rules, because within the Mormon faith, there are, call them rules, call them guidelines, call them whatever you want, but there's lots of things that they expect you to follow. For instance, there's the word of wisdom, which,
Word of wisdom is basically a guideline for health. It was saying, no smoking, no drinking. It goes all the way to
No caffeine, right?
Caffeine,
No
coffee,
caffeine ever.
And
Maybe I'm wrong on
that's a debated topic, because a lot of people like Coke out in Utah, and Coke has caffeine, surprisingly.
Right.
So for some people it's okay, and for some people it's not.
it was
so
a
who
big
knows?
deal when they put Coke in the BYU campus.
Yeah.
Like they put them in the vending machines, and everyone was
Wow.
like,
What about like caffeine-free Coke? Is that cool?
Oh yeah,
Our
I guess that
mom
would be
specifically
considered
would
cool.
buy caffeine-free
yeah,
Coke
yeah.
just because
awesome.
it was
No
like her
coffee.
free pass.
So
or
how do
whatever.
Mormon dads like get out of bed and just get their kids ready for the day without a cup of Joe? You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying. So it's a
Cup of Joseph Smith.
A cup of Joseph.
it's like
manna.
I guess a meme that Mormons have a ton of children, and we did know a handful of families that had like 10, 16
There was a
children.
family.
Wow.
There was a
Yeah,
six-
16 children.
16
Wow.
in
And-
Ohio. Yeah.
But I think living a pure lifestyle of like no harsh substances does give you a certain type of energy rather than
yeah.
like pure caffeine.
Totally.
So I mean, who's to say that it doesn't work?
For sure.
No, for sure. Totally. Like your body has adrenaline levels that, would regulate themselves. And when we're constantly just pouring caffeine in our system,
Sugar
it's making
caffeine.
those levels spike and never be in homeostasis. Like it totally
For
is
sure.
fine.
Same thing with washing your hair. At one point, Alex went like a long time without washing his hair, and eventually like it just sorts itself out. It
Right.
It becomes a clean
its own
thing.
little
It's-
I wanted to
ecosystem.
say one time you guys commented on Alex not washing his hair, and I had long hair down to my nipples, I guess.
No way!
Yeah, it
I
was
think
really
I saw
long.
a picture.
You were
long
full
time ago.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had really long hair, and I grew up my beard, and I was just trying to
Full granola.
Yeah, I
Full
was
granola.
trying it out.
OG granola.
And I would wash my hair, and I would say it is so hard to wash my hair with so much shampoo. And I was running through shampoo like crazy. and I watched a YouTube video. This guy was like, "You don't need shampoo." And I tried it for I think 2 solid months, and my hair felt just as normal as
That's what I'm
without
saying.
shampooing.
Yeah,
or with shampooing. I
Yeah,
guess.
I'm sure if you just stopped drinking caffeine, your body would.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
definitely,
for sure,
definitely.
for sure.
But yeah, back.
So I'm
Alex is giving. Alex doesn't have a mic today. He's giving the like fist pump and the smile.
in support.
Yeah. Awesome. Hell yeah. So I wanted to ask you this. And we've talked a little bit about this off camera and go as far or not as far as you're willing to go on this. But are there any sort of initiatory rites or practices? And you don't have to go into detail if the answer is yes. But like, are there any sort of those kinds of behind closed doors, like initiatory traditions in the Mormon Church?
For sure. So the most basic ones are baptism and then like receiving the Holy Ghost. And so with baptisms, obviously you have to go through like it's like a trial period.
There's like
where
an interview process.
There's an interview process. You have to interview with your local bishop. You have to attend church for a certain.
A bishop is essentially just there are different like regional areas with groups of people. A bishop will be in charge of essentially like maybe 50 Mormon or LDS members.
Probably more.
Yeah, and in some cases more. Depending on where you live, you may have more or less. But they're in charge of interviewing and tending to their flock.
Gotcha.
So
is LDS Latter-day Saints?
Latter-day
Yeah,
Saints.
The same thing as Mormonism?
Mormons
Yes,
and Latter-day
yes.
Saints are synonymous.
I think they prefer to be called Latter-day Saints.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, probably get rid of some of the like stigma from.
Stigma from Mormon.
Calling them Mormons though is silly fine.
But it is called the Book of Mormon. The base foundation of Latter-day Saints is the Bible and the Book of Mormon as companions. But
yeah, one distinction they are always clear to make. It's in the name of the church. It's the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, because so many people like to say
It's
Mormons
Joseph
aren't
Smith.
Christians. But they believe in Christ and His resurrection.
Yeah, for sure, just in a very different way.
Right.
But
right.
we had a Church of Latter Day Saints of, or how does it go? The
LDS, just go for
but of
LDS.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah,
you just
we had
call
one of
it,
those in Hope
Mormon,
Mills, and
whatever.
like a lot of the kids we went to our school with went to that church. Like we would talk.
I didn't even realize
Yeah, they'd
that.
go to like seminary at 4 or 5
we
in
would
the morning.
Go
or
5 in
whatever.
the morning.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Seminary is
every
a
day,
class you would go
all through high
to
school.
like 1 hour before school, pretty much every day, and
Basically Bible study, but in the morning.
yeah, each year, let's say it's your freshman year, you'll learn about the Old Testament, and then let's say it's your sophomore year, then you learn about the New Testament, and so on and so forth. And
It's pitch dark out at 5 a.m.
Yeah, it was dark, and
That's
sometimes
crazy.
it was really cold.
half the class was asleep.
Yeah,
during seminary,
I was
straight up,
I was
like-
always. I think there's a famous picture from my group where I was asleep with 3 of my friends.
Yeah,
I was dead
I
asleep.
know if we can
Yeah.
find that, we'll put it up. Or
I had this
something, but-
friend named Britton. I don't want to say his, I just don't like to out people's
Yeah,
last names online. But I had a friend named Britton who was an active, Mormon member throughout high school. And there were some days he would just be kind of like not dozing, not falling asleep, but like really tired. And he's like, I'm so tired today. And I'm like, why, dude? He's like, I had seminary. And then he had to break this shocking concept to me that every day at 5 he goes to this thing. And it was just like mind opening to me.
And
Like,
then you
oh my
go to
God.
sports, your extracurriculars, and then you got church on Sunday,
And
which is
sometimes
3 hours.
work
You're
and-
going 24/7 in the faith. Like,
Yeah. It's like your whole life. That's
This might
profound,
be a silly
that's what,
question.
so you go back to the question of like, how did it feel like as when you were younger?
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah. So that kind of gives you an idea of if you're in Mormonism, you're in it all the
You're
way.
100%.
Your time is completely occupied. You usually have like a calling, or
Calling is like
some-
a job within the church, like a secretary or
Gotcha.
yeah,
whatever.
just some sort of duty or role to help sustain the church. But it's very time consuming. It can be very stressful.
Especially for a kid.
yeah.
For a kid,
Absolutely.
it's
Just
very
wanna have
stressful on
fun.
kids.
Absolutely,
That's a lot.
I've seen families fall apart because the kids don't want to participate, but parents are forcing them.
Wow.
And it's just sometimes it really just doesn't work for some families.
I think
and it
that
really
happens
ends
in
up sucking.
a lot of religions, though.
Yeah.
Not
for
to
sure.
not to rag on Mormons, but I think the pressure of having to fulfill a role is really difficult. So
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
No doubt. So this might be a silly off the wall question, but where does the word Mormon come from?
I was wondering the same thing.
Yeah.
the Book of Mormon, that is the name of the book. There was a prophet so the Book of Mormon is comprised of it's like the Bible. There's different prophets that were in North and South America
Yeah.
versus in Israel and on the other side of the continent.
Yeah.
And these prophets would exchange these plates of I think they were brass and gold down from each other. They would chisel it in, or I don't know how they did it, but they would pass them on to each other, and that became the compendium of the Book of Mormon.
Huh.
I think the last prophet in the Book of Mormon is Mormon. His name is Mormon.
Gotcha.
And he's the one. I think he hid the plates of all the people in a hill in Palmyra, New York, or Pennsylvania. I can't remember exactly where it is. He hides the plates in the hill, which Joseph Smith later finds.
And when did that happen? What was the time frame for when those tablets were hidden?
Wasn't it Moroni that buried the tablets?
It could be Moroni.
Yeah,
They were
I'm
found
pretty
in,
sure
like,
it was
the
Captain
1800s,
Moroni that
correct?
buried
They were found, yeah.
the plates in Hill Cumorah, and then
Hill Cumorah, that could be.
yeah, it was yeah.
So when would that have been?
So the plates predate Christ's ministry, so they go back a long time. I can't speak to exactly when, and it's still being relatively figured out.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a section in a book called Third Nephi, which speaks to when Christ is living and also dies in Israel, and so when Jesus is crucified on the other side of the world, he dies and he comes back right after 3 days.
Yeah.
According to the Mormons, that Jesus in those 3 days administered to the people of the Americas. He came to America, showed them, his hand and his feet, the pierce marks, I can't remember the nail marks,
the wound, the spear,
the wounds.
Yeah,
that's
the
the word.
spear of destiny.
And he administered to them, showed them, like that he is God or he is Jesus, and and then that is part of it. That's like, I guess, 2/3 of the way through the book, and then after that is more stories of like revelation of prophets and
then when did Joseph Smith find the plates?
I don't know the exact date.
Well, according to this,
1800s.
according to this South Park episode, which the little tiny details were supposedly
it's accurate.
factual. It was the 1800s.
1800s.
Gotcha.
Or so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
But so I had a question for you guys to just shift gears a little bit. So I recall from our last time we hung out, you both started kind of wanting to get out of Mormonism in an official way in your teenage years.
Yeah, I'd say there was always like the curiosity of like the world and other things, or like parties or different friends, different friend groups, activities that you could do.
Yeah.
So there were a lot of, I guess, in the church we call them temptations, but they're just things,
normal things
that other people do.
That every little boy and girl wants to grow up and experience. Yeah.
And so I guess that was like the first steps that were like, I want to experience those other things, and I don't want to feel bad about having to do them. So that was kind of, and it wasn't like I wanted to like leave because I hated it. It was like, I just wanted to experience the world as it is for myself.
Yeah, that's awesome.
For me, it wasn't like straight up leaving Mormonism completely and becoming disconnected. For me, it was, figuring out the parts of Mormonism that I knew to be true, and that I knew that worked with my alignment, and taking those and then bringing it into what else I wanted to achieve in life. So I still take aspects of Mormonism and hold them true.
For sure.
Totally.
But I don't let all of the teachings of the Mormon Church hold me back to other things that I want to do. So.
For sure.
You just look at it from a little bit more of an open-minded lens.
And there will be a lot of Mormons out there that are like, yeah, no, that's not cool.
It's the same thing.
Well, it's Christians.
It's just
Christians in general.
For sure. Yeah.
We talk about that a lot on the show. Like, I genuinely believe that there is one true spiritual doctrine somewhere out there.
For sure.
And all of these mainstream religions, including Mormonism, including, even like Freemasonry.
Right.
Yeah.
And it just everything is copying from that. And like it stands to reason there have to be true elements to Mormonism that can be used. And for the record, I'm not trying to do this to put Mormonism on people. This is just a very interesting conversation.
Oh, totally.
Candid, like I'm not saying go do this or that or the other.
I would say there are nuggets of truth in
For sure.
just about every religion.
Right.
And I'll say there are a handful, more than a handful of Mormons that would agree with you. I mean, not everyone is super strict. There's a lot of open-minded Mormons. So, I mean,
hell yeah.
I go by the belief of if it serves me better, then I'll take it and incorporate it in my life. And that goes with any religion,
That's
really.
straight up like some alchemy shit.
Yeah, for sure. I guess sure.
That's like what the secret societies and the Rosicrucians and the alchemists have done is they've just synthesized all these ancient mystical beliefs and have kept what has worked through the ages.
For sure.
And Do you think you would be willing to going into any of the like Freemason influence in Mormonry?
There definitely is. There are some things that I'd rather not talk about,
Okay.
but
Totally.
Just don't.
Totally.
You know?
No, yeah, for
we
sure.
could say things that there are symbols
Si-
that are used within Freemasonry that in the more sacred parts of Mormonism, those same symbols are also used.
right.
But yeah, I don't think it's really necessary that we
That's cool.
expose
That's cool.
all those
I,
symbols.
I,
Yeah.
I'll
See, I
speak
have no
to-
clue what is allowed
For
or
sure.
is not allowed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not. It's just about respect.
respect
really.
Right,
for,
right.
for who
You
they
don't
are.
wanna
But
out people who
I will say
genuinely
that
live this
Right.
way.
It is. There are sacred aspects of Mormonism, and we want to.
Totally.
Hey, respect. I
sure.
get that, man. This is not a gotcha kind of thing.
Right,
I'm
right.
not trying to
Yeah, yeah.
expose
No, for sure.
anything.
No,
It's
no.
just
Yeah.
so fascinating.
Absolutely.
So,
So I'll try and speak to what I can. All right.
All right.
Yeah. So there are aspects of Freemasonry. I think Joseph Smith, and I can't remember all of the founding, I guess, fathers of Mormonism. I can't remember all their names, but a lot of them were Freemasons. They went to the lodges. They did the practices. There are a lot of practices that you can watch through Mason services that are similar or almost identical in Mormon practices.
symbology, things like that. That's so fascinating, dude.
Yeah. Very.
And even to this day, I think there are a handful of modern living prophets and apostles of the current Mormon church that are still Freemasons. They
Like
still
active in both.
active in both.
Wow.
Yeah. So they're not exclusive to it.
Yeah, a
You
lot
can-
of the higher up members of the LDS Church are high level Freemasons. as
You know,
well.
that says something to me.
Yeah. Yeah, for
that
sure.
says something
For sure.
like the interplay between Mormonism and Freemasonry.
Absolutely.
That's something that later we could try to find out, like some of the online shit that's out there, and try to really
Yeah.
break it down.
There's a lot you can
what-
find
what-
for sure.
Something
There's
that
a
was
lot
really
you can
crazy.
find.
Unfortunately, our uncle just passed away.
Oh, I'm so
rest,
sorry.
rest in peace,
Uncle
Uncle
Bob.
Rest in
Uncle
peace.
Bob.
Sorry to hear it.
But he had a Freemason funeral, and he is not Mormon. But it was interesting to see. Bobby and I were having this conversation afterwards about how many similarities there are between the Mormon faith and Freemasonry. Because during the Freemason funeral, they were wearing these robes and they were saying certain phrases, and we're
Yeah.
like, why? How we've seen that before? We've heard that
Whoa.
before.
Yeah.
What is
and you-
If you're
okay.
into it, yeah. If you go look up, I don't know what they're called, but like last rites or something.
Yeah.
Masonic last rites. There's a lot of symbology that you can find that what they say and what they wear and what they do that correlates with Mormonism. So
That's so cool, dude.
If you want to look into it, you can definitely find some
Absolutely.
very
do
esoteric
your own
stuff.
research, and you'll find what you're looking
Yeah.
for.
Totally. So one thing I'm a little curious on, just to see what the perspective is like from you guys now, because Ryan and I have our own feelings towards the sort of church that we grew up in now, and like similar to you guys, it's all respect.
For sure.
It's I don't want to disparage anybody. I don't want to discourage
yeah, I
anybody.
don't believe in dogging the
No.
members.
Not at all.
I don't believe in
But
that.
what are your guys' feelings now towards the church?
Well, I will say things in general in the world have become more contentious. I think there's a lot of
Absolutely.
frustration and strife, and there's a lot of fighting in the world. And Mormons are fairly strict in how they live, and they want to preserve some of those rights. So there's somewhat of a struggle between the Mormon Church and how the world is evolving.
But
Gotcha.
damn, their PR, they know how to handle it. Like,
Yeah, they do know.
yeah,
they know how to handle
They
it
know
for
how to
sure, yeah.
deliver the bad news
Really?
without making it
Yeah,
sound
they
super
can
bad.
they can do
That's
it.
funny.
But I would say that I respect the religion. I respect the people. I respect the thought process. I respect the lifestyle.
Totally.
It's just some things just aren't for you.
Yeah.
And I for Mother's Day, I think I went with my mom to church. On Easter, I think we went to church, and it was lovely. I mean, I felt
Yeah.
whole going there, and I think that's probably because I was being reverent and I was participating
Yeah.
in love with my common man, I suppose.
Yeah,
That's-
you were opening
so-
yourself to having this familial experience
Right,
with your
right.
mother and something. Yeah, like I go to church with my mom sometimes, and
It's nice.
I'll do it
It's nice.
just to make her happy. And I can't say that I enjoy it, but
Right,
I
yeah,
get
yeah,
it.
for
Like
sure.
that's nice that you have
Yeah.
that feeling. I'm at the point now where I pretty much don't ever enjoy church anymore.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
church
For
is
some-
kind of
it's
like
for some people, it's
what
not
you,
for everyone.
what you make of it in a lot of cases. So if you go into it with the mindset that you're going to be restricted and it's all dogmatic, you might not have a great experience. But if you take the aspects that make you feel good and help you like evolve your life in some sort of way, it can be extremely helpful. And I think that's the case for most of the people that are still actively participating in these religions. But you don't even have to necessarily go to church to have those sorts of experiences.
sure.
You can
For sure.
have those experiences in the home.
Totally.
Oh yeah.
And it's all how you create your own reality. But
We talk about that too as it relates to Christianity. With most organized religion, there's like a fail-safe built in where it's like you have to take everything literally and you can't pick and choose. You gotta take all of it or none of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's how I
That's
was raised
unfortunate.
too.
Yeah, same.
Fucking sucked.
That does fucking suck because it's like, well, now you're depriving me of all the great things that I could be absorbing for my personal life out of this work, out of this religion or whatever. But I fully disagree with that. Like if you take things from a certain religion and they enrich your life, and you leave behind some other things, that you still improved your life
For sure.
and you're still on the path to becoming a better person.
Yeah.
So like, I that's one thing I would say I dislike about organized religion is that you either take all of it or none of it.
yeah, it's black. It's either black and white. There's
Exactly.
no gray area.
I would say
ruins everything.
I would say Mormons are fairly black and white, but
Mhm.
like on the individual level, there's a lot of people that just like to talk about deep doctrine, about just weird stuff. So there's a little give and take on the personal level,
Sure.
just a theory craft about what happened with Moses, or what happened with Abraham, or what happened with Isaiah. So I think you can be loose with it and still enjoy church aspects. Luckily, our parents are very open. They've been very accepting of
Shout out
Marki
mom and dad.
Shout out mom and dad. They're
Shout
awesome.
out
We love you
Mom
both.
and Dad. I've never met them, but shout them out.
They're really
we love
cool.
you.
Oh, that's awesome.
But they've been really cool with me and Marki not being fully active or active
They're
really
both
at all.
still active.
For living
my
our
mom is
own
very
lives.
active.
Yeah,
And my
they're-
dad is not, but they've been really cool with us, having different ideas. And even my mom will ask me, what do you even believe anymore? And I'll bounce stuff off of her, and she says, no, I don't really believe that, but I'll be like, okay, well, I mean, this is what I believe.
It's like your
and-
turn, Mom.
Yeah.
I do that. I kind of do that in a loving way. I kind of do that with my mom. Like,
yes,
Sure.
spiritual conversation
Dude,
is,
spiritual
is
conversation is
very
awesome.
on the table with our family. We talk about it all the time.
That's sweet.
That's awesome.
That's
I
all you
think
can
that's the way it should be with most people.
Yeah.
If you're feeling hesitant to have those conversations, that's understandable. But I think everyone should try to explore that with their family at some point. in
For
time.
sure. I would
Oh
agree.
yeah.
It's a really cool thing being able to open like an open dialogue with your parents
For sure.
about spirituality, especially when you have always grown up with them kind of, in one religion.
Right.
You've always grown up in one way of thinking. And, nowadays I talk to my dad about reincarnation and
Yeah,
all sorts of stuff. And he's just so much more open. And his kind of understanding, he knows that I wouldn't consider myself a Christian anymore. But, so his understanding is that we believe in similar things. We just call them different things.
For sure.
Yeah,
like-
yeah.
it-
Yo,
it
that's
does happen.
like the path, right?
Yeah.
He's knocking on the door of initiation.
Oh,
for sure.
100%.
Like what we were talking about in the previous episode.
Yeah.
Like
Even to the now he's even gotten to the point where he's always preached. He preaches every Sunday. He goes to, for like the past 20 years. He goes to a detention center, the same detention center, and he preaches to the kids there.
That's awesome.
But it's he makes it a point to sit down with each individual kid and open a dialogue with them. So
he's really that.
That's how
kind
Christ
of guy,
ministered.
man.
That's how
He's-
Christ ministered to his disciples. He went one by one with them.
Yeah.
I think that's how it has to be.
I agree. I really respect my dad so much for doing that, because it's not about thumping the scripture.
Right.
It's about like
helping the kids.
yeah,
Yeah.
here's some stuff that could help you out, and
For sure.
talking to them about it. But so I say all that to say he would very much consider himself a man of God and,
For sure.
and a devout Christian, but he's even gotten to the point now where when he's talking to me about scripture, which is one of his favorite things to do,
Yeah.
he'll say, God, or whatever you want to call it. Or whatever you wanna
Yo,
call it.
he said some funny shit to me the other day about God. Like, why would God make this? But it was like totally off the wall. He pushes the limit for sure.
Yeah, for sure. But I think that's beautiful. That's where you find common ground. with people.
For sure.
And they discourage you from doing that.
Sometimes, yeah.
Sometimes, yeah. You know, some religions, some groups will discourage that open dialogue, but I think that's beautiful. That's where you find the middle of the Venn diagram.
Yeah, for sure.
That's what we're doing right now. We're
having a conversation,
Yeah.
man.
Sick.
Do you remember back when we were all in like high school and maybe even middle school, and we always saw those cringy coexist stickers?
Oh yeah.
but now it's like kind of like
now it's kind of like I kind of like that.
I
Now.
mean,
it's like,
you
That's
know what
the
I'm saying? Yeah, like I
Yeah.
kind of get it, but
Well, you know why we thought it was cringy? Because back then we were probably like, those are probably atheists or something.
yeah, exactly.
We're
Like
judging.
we
Yeah,
were
dude.
those kinds of Christians
Exactly.
back then.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's funny. So
So wait, do you mind if I ask you a question?
Sure.
Do you think that living here in the South was the main reason for you guys having that, or?
No, I think for me, man, this might be a shocking answer, but I think for me particularly, it was on the one hand having, because I loved Christianity.
Mhm.
I loved it. I really did. I thought that it was 100% the whole truth. And you know, I think a lot of kids born into it do. But the deep shock for me was, on the other hand, having this world famous UFO dad who's on the secret or on the side teaching me about like reincarnation and shit. And then I go to church on Sunday with my mom.
Yeah.
And get shouted at by the pastor about how I'm going to burn in hell if I don't
Hellfire.
shout enough in
Yeah.
church,
Damnation.
kind of thing. I mean, it wasn't exactly like that kind of verbiage, but and it was very shocking for me being pulled in
And
these
as a
two
kid
different
too.
exactly from the ripe age of 13. So I kind of just migrated towards my dad's camp over time. And here we are.
I would like to come camping at your dad's.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, anytime.
Yeah.
Wait, didn't y'all see orbs with us that one?
We did.
yeah.
We
We
were
said
there.
come over and
If
saw
there's
orbs.
ever an instance that your dad wants to go camping and we're invited, we're coming.
Yeah, we're coming for sure.
That's
Yeah,
sick.
no, definitely got to get you out there again.
Oh, yeah.
sometime. That
They,
was
they were
awesome.
at the pond.
Yeah, that's
At
where
the
that's where
pond.
I kind of met them and hung out.
Dude.
Yeah.
We
Shout
at the pond.
out Chris Senior.
Shout
out
out, Dad.
Chris
Love you,
Senior.
Dad.
Yeah.
And we saw orbs that night. I totally forgot about that part. See, that's how interested I was in what y'all had to say. I
Right.
forgot about the orbs.
Yeah. No, I mean, I should I give a little background about how we came into contact with your dad?
Absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah, I'll make it really brief because.
No, dude,
Um,
don't worry about brief.
Okay, well,
Are we on
so,
good time right now, Alex? Okay, cool. Yeah, take your time.
All right. Yeah. So, as you know, Bobby and I branched out from Mormonism. We've always been, fascinated with esoteric topics and stuff involving mysticism.
Hell yeah.
And yeah, I've
You're in
always
the right place.
absolutely. Yeah, I think that we were guided down this path, but yeah, I've always had an interest in the UFO subject, and I like to manifest my reality, and I wanted so deeply to have an experience where I could know that there was something else greater out there, that it was tangible, it was visible, it was something that I could recount, and then one day me and Jeremy.
My brother, of course.
Yeah,
For the listener.
yeah. One morning we were playing Fortnite, doing our emotes. Yeah, we were doing a little floss.
Yo, you got that Ariana Grande skin, boy. No.
We just got to talking about the topics we're talking about right now, and I brought up aliens, and he's like, "Man, if you're into aliens, you should learn about my family, and maybe you could talk to my dad someday."
Isn't that starkly different from your introduction?
Very.
He learned
Did
his
you guys
lesson.
hear how Jeremy sprung it on me?
oh yeah, it
Oh,
was
when
like
you
a
were
joke.
kids?
It's like, oh, is UFOs out there?
Like 11.
He doesn't do that anymore.
No, I know. I was terrified the whole night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah. So he was like, at some point you guys got to come out and meet my dad. So time goes by. I asked Bobby, and Bobby's obviously like, yeah, we got to do this.
I happened to be in town that weekend. Naturally,
Yeah,
so
it was-
he
it was
hitting me up. Yeah.
Perfect timing. Perfect timing.
Alignment.
We're also we enjoy golfing. So Jeremy was like, hey, why don't you come golfing? Or go golfing with me and my dad? And any questions you have, you can ask. So we drove to Fayetteville. It's about an hour from where we live. So. We went out there. We went golfing. We had a wonderful time. We got to ask Chris some questions that I never thought I would get the answer to, and he told me some amazing stuff. And he was like, why don't the two of you come back to my place at what
It
was
was like 6:45 or
6:45 or something.
Yeah.
The exact
It was
time.
it was very specific.
The exact time he told us he wanted to come back, we were there, and so we finished golfing, And
We went and got Starbies.
we went, yeah, we
Starbies.
went.
Yeah.
Casey
Yeah,
call
yeah.
it Starbies.
Yeah.
So yeah, we
Get
get some
some after if you want.
Starbucks. We get back, and the second we get back, it's right on time, and we're getting out of the car, and Chris is like, "They're here."
They're already here.
No way.
And
The
we're like,
second you
the
show
we
second
stepped
we
out the door and
showed
he says, they're here.
And then we walk over. We've got the videos, video footage from that night, and you can hear the excitement in our voices. But it
We
was
could post that in conjunction with this if you're okay with it.
absolutely,
Yeah, yeah.
absolutely.
Okay.
I have that video already uploaded to my YouTube.
Okay, yeah. Yeah.
But Bobby and I got to see the most beautiful white ball of light right above Emily's cabin, and
wow, it was close.
Yeah, it was descending right in front of us, and I got it on video, and just the feeling that came along with seeing it was just. It was something else. It just reaffirmed my belief that that I'm being guided down the reality that I'm choosing.
Totally.
And I was given the blessing to see that, and I thank your dad Chris.
For sure.
And,
Well, it's an honor to me. Sorry to cut you off,
No,
but I
you're
just
good.
want to say it's an honor to my family that we even played a small part in like you feeling like you're on the right path. So that's just fucking epic, dude.
Yeah.
absolutely. No,
Very
thank
cool.
thank you guys.
Thank you. I was gonna say that Marki was introducing me to. I mean, I've known Jeremy for a long time, and he never in the 10 or so years that I've talked to him, and we talk to each other like almost every other day or whatever for a long time, for 10 years. He never once mentioned anything with aliens, and so when Marki said to me, he
His
was
friends weren't too kind about it.
like, no, yeah, that's what I've heard.
Yeah.
When
Unfortunately.
Marki said it, he was like, "Oh, we can go visit Jeremy's family, and we can maybe talk to Jeremy's dad and talk about aliens." And I was like, "Okay." I've always had a concept that I wanted to believe in aliens, but like anything that Marki's ever shown me or anything I've seen myself, I've always reserved doubt that it could be fake or
For sure.
manufactured. or
Not to
whatever.
mention growing up in the Mormon church,
sure.
and
Yeah.
I'm sure there
Yeah.
were certain beliefs about that.
For
yeah,
sure.
you have a preconceived level of
Right.
doubt. It's because you're
It's like
already
I
instilled with this.
I don't want to believe that there are aliens because that could
Puncture my entire belief system,
for sure.
and that's the problem. That's what we're up against. Sorry,
Mhm.
it
No, you're
felt
fine.
relevant,
You're
but
fine.
That's understandable.
And so I was going into meeting your dad with a sense of
Skeptic.
not that I was going to debunk him, because that wasn't my
Of course.
intention, but it was going to be like, I'm going to see how legitimate it is. And I can't tell you, from the moment he first said a few words to us, I was like, this dude is like honest Abe. Like he tells the truth.
Yeah.
Everybody that meets him says that.
You can
Yeah,
hear
he's
it
the
in
most
his
honest
voice. You
dude.
can see it in the
he's
way
just a
he
normal
walks.
guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's this whole mythology around my dad, and in reality,
Just a normal
he's
guy.
just a sweet,
Yeah.
typical Southern gentleman.
hmm
Like he's
That's it.
He's just an honest, nice guy. Yeah.
That's it.
I think he's a wonderful guy.
And just to elaborate a little bit further, he was, he was just honest. And so I was just like, okay, well, when I heard him talking with Marki when we were golfing, Marki would be asking him certain questions and whatever, and he would just be talking nonchalantly about it. I'd be like, okay, that's pretty normal. And so when he said come around 6:45 or whatever time it was,
It's so specific.
he
He does
I,
that.
I was like,
He knew.
my heart kind of like throbbed or something. Maybe it was a heart murmur. I don't know, but
Ooh.
Yeah, it was like a flutter.
I
Like
was
your
just
heart
like-
skipped a beat a little bit.
I was really shocked. And when the moment I stepped out of the car, I said, they're here. And I saw the ball of light in the sky, and I was like, drone, plane,
You try.
air balloon.
You try.
And then it just started moving so sporadically, differently. And then that wasn't the only one. We saw multiple. I think we saw 4, maybe 5. That night.
Wow.
Damn,
All
that's a
different-
normal night at our
See,
house.
and I think that's kind of where Bobby and I like are on opposite sides of the
Mhm.
spectrum. Like I came in, like I felt like I already knew this was gonna be the real deal, and
And I was convinced afterwards. I mean, in the moment, I was convinced that it was like, it's
That's
the real
how,
deal.
That's how it works. And for years, I did the same thing
Mhm.
where I would reserve some skepticism.
Mm-hmm.
I would reserve some doubt. Like the first few years that we were friends or so, before I had significant sightings.
Mhm.
Yeah, you didn't see shit till you were an adult.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it was a really long time. I think that came from a lot of fear
Mhm.
from me.
Yeah.
I was always afraid. Thanks, Jeremy. No, but yeah, it's what you always do. You see it, and the first thing your brain does is helicopter, plane, drone,
Mhm.
and then it's like
What else it is?
It's
I
a mind
run out
fuck.
of-
They do it
Yeah.
on purpose.
It's like none
Yeah,
of
that's
those things.
so I operate on like an irrational level of just feeling. What do I feel this is? I know that's not the way you should approach situations in life.
Oh, that's
but-
some Jedi shit.
That, yeah.
But
The night
I will say, like I just knew, like I knew
Totally.
your dad like was
Speaking
being
truth.
earnest and
The
Yeah,
night I
for
met
sure.
these brothers, I told them, I said, Marki, the feeling I get of you is you're a shaman.
Yeah.
Bobby, the feeling I get of you is you're a wizard.
He's
Look how
wearing
he showed up in a wizard hat.
Literally
Is that why you brought that? Or
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so you remembered
Yeah,
that.
it's funny because in WoW I play a shaman.
Nice.
Funny, and you
I had a
play with-
specific
No,
reason
I
for
play a
saying
warlock,
that,
actually, but-
which we'll go into.
For sure.
Because wizards battle demons and shit.
For sure,
And shamans
yeah.
kind of
Yo,
like
by the
guide
way,
people to the knowledge.
Do we want to start?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna
Warming up
We'll
to
get
it.
in there,
but
yeah.
yeah, so yeah, I mean, I was just gonna ask, and this can be a total shoot down. It does not matter to me. Do we want to talk any at all, as much as you're comfortable, or none at all about psychedelics?
I'm happy to talk about psychedelics.
Let's go there, and then
Which-
we'll end up with
Gotcha.
Absolutely. Is there a specific psychedelic? Before we get into psychedelics, I'll just say to anyone listening out there, I don't encourage anyone out there to take any drugs or that. In me talking about this experience, it does not confirm nor deny my use of these drugs.
Sure.
I'm just giving my own personal research that I've done on these things.
Sure.
I'm just giving my insight.
Totally.
So,
Yeah. I
Yeah,
get
no,
that.
be responsible.
Absolutely.
Understand that every person has a very different experience.
Do your own research. Make sure
Yeah.
you're aware of what can happen.
And I would
what's
also
out
say this to any young teenage, because we have a lot of like really cool like teenage
Audience
age
viewers.
listeners. Yeah, and like
So just be mindful.
I just
Definitely.
want to say, like, because my conscience compels me to say, if there's any young guys or gals out there who are very curious about this stuff, and like, I'm a full believer that responsibly psychedelics can help and heal, but I personally believe that you should probably, and y'all could speak on this. If you disagree, please tell me. I have not that much knowledge on psychedelics.
For sure.
I personally believe you should probably wait till you're 18 at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea.
There's
So
a-
where
there's
your
a whole-
brain is forming, you
I
know.
smoke cigarettes now till
Yeah,
you're 21.
you-
You're
Yeah.
in the
Just-
development stage. You got to let yourself grow before you manipulate any of the biology and your
For
You gotta
sure.
learn about the what is it called? You gotta learn about the program that you live in.
There you go.
To
Yeah,
deprogram
yeah,
yourself.
that's
yeah,
good shit.
that's a
Yes,
great
exactly.
one.
It just scares me to think about kids out there who like might hear this conversation and they have a friend that can get their hands on
Yeah,
it,
for
and they're in
sure.
the wrong setting,
Yeah.
fucks their life up. They have
Yeah, yeah.
PTSD.
So,
it can happen.
First things
my
first.
conscience is clear.
When it comes to psychedelics, they are not party drugs. You
Yeah,
do
for sure.
not
Never.
party
You
drugs.
do not use psychedelics are a spiritual tool for growth and enlightenment and evolution. So you're not like, if you're thinking, I want to take, mushrooms or LSD or Molly or whatever
Yeah.
And go to a
psychedelic
rave
drug
or something.
and I want to go, go to a house party and be on it.
People
No,
can
that
fuck
is
their
not-
lives up doing that.
Absolutely. That is absolutely not what you want to, involve yourself in. When it comes to psychedelics, you always want to make sure that you're in the right headspace. You're, you're meditating. You're, spiritually ready.
Intention.
Mhm.
Yeah, your intentions have to be right. And, if you have issues or something that you're trying to solve, be conscious of those before you take any of these, tools.
Mental health is really important.
Very much so. That is
Thank
first
you
and
guys
foremost.
for doing that because that's very important. Thank you. That is very important. You got to be responsible.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, it's not a game. It's not a toy.
sure.
It's a
No.
very mind altering.
That being said, do you think that psychedelics are responsible for human consciousness?
That's a great
I
question.
think Stone Dave theory is a big proponent, but I don't know. I think humans could have evolved and obtained a consciousness just from learning, but
Sure.
who's to say that you
didn't
can't
catapult
expand your
it?
consciousness already with psychedelic drugs?
Who knows? I mean, it's completely possible. I know that psychedelics definitely have a special role to play in human evolution, and who knows? Maybe it was intentional that they ended up here, and
Yeah.
that we're. I think it's probable.
I mean, there are a lot of plans for our use.
That's for sure.
Yeah,
For sure.
yeah.
That's for sure.
So
Yeah, totally.
most likely, I would say.
So let me ask you this then, Marky.
Yeah.
And I'm not, necessarily saying that we know anybody who has heavy experience with this stuff, but if you just had like a friend or any sort of like homie that you vibe with that had a lot of experience,
a shaman perhaps,
a friend who is a shaman who is recognized and called a shaman occasionally. do you think that any of your contacts who have experienced this have told you any interesting stories on like DMT?
Yeah, absolutely.
Anything profound that was mind altering?
For sure. So from the experiences that I've heard, witnessed, been around, DMT is there's a psychedelic ladder, I'd call it, and I'd
That's
say
shamanism.
So I'd say it probably starts around weed. These are
marijuana.
Weed is marijuana. It's definitely considered a low level psychedelic, and it can produce a psychedelic experience,
especially in edible form.
Absolutely, absolutely.
That's scientific.
Yeah, when your liver breaks it down, it actually changes it to a different compound, which is considered a psychedelic.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Also, just real quick, ultra high doses of CBD, and I mean really high, like in the 100 or even higher, have a very light effect of acid.
I believe it.
Yeah,
definitely.
I would agree.
Never mind.
But it has to be. It has to be super high doses. of CBD.
Sure.
Yeah. So then climbing up the ladder, we've got. I'd probably put mushrooms under LSD, but the clear distinction I would make between the two is that mushrooms are more about self-reflection, looking inward and trying to.
I know a guy who might agree with that.
Yeah. And then LSD is more of looking at the program, looking at the outer world, and trying to decipher, what it is. And it's very, very complex. But that's the easiest way to describe and distinguish LSD from mushrooms. Mushrooms, inner self; LSD, outer self.
Wow.
So and then there are others. There's MDMA and
ayahuasca,
ayahuasca, ketamine, all those. Those are less popular. I won't get into much of those. But at the top of the ladder, as we were talking about, is DMT, and DMT is one of those drugs that provides you with the experience of detaching yourself from your physical body and putting yourself into some other realm, existence, some sort of other plane where you have the opportunity to interact with entities, spirit beings. It's hard to classify them because
conscious beings that recognize you.
Yeah,
absolutely. And it also depends on how much DMT you take, because if you don't take enough, you might not be able to get to interact with those entities or beings. But usually if you take somewhere around 3 solid hits, you'll be able to break through and interact with whatever entity it is that is presenting itself to you. And then I can get into more specifically what the experiences that I've heard of, those beings. But sorry.
Yeah, no. Oh, yeah. I was just going to say, do you have any inkling based on your research of where that place is or what it is?
Well, we know that there are lots of different dimensions. There's like the 3rd dimension, the 4th dimension, the 5th dimension. It's really hard to say which dimension these beings reside in.
They call it like hyperspace, right? Like DMT hyperspace. I like to think of it as the spirit world.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It's like whatever you want to call it, we're saying the same thing.
Yeah. If I could say for sure, I would, but they don't exist within the 3rd dimension because obviously that's where we're at right now, and I don't think we see any fucking. But it's hard to say, but I don't know. Would you like me to get into the specific entities that I've heard of?
Absolutely.
That'd be
and I just wanted to say this is just amazing confirmation for me, because I started researching a prominent researcher of the occult named Mark Passio, and he is very open about this, how he used to be a high-level member of the Church of Satan, like Anton LaVey, like the one that started in the 60s.
Whoa.
And at the higher levels of the Church of Satan, they get into some really ancient forms of occult and esoterica and et cetera. It has this guise of being just this political group, but that's absolutely not true, according to the insiders. And Mark Passio very open about the ancient wisdom, exactly how we talk on the show about like the ancient wisdom he's gained from that. And with any of these groups, including like say Satanists and dark groups, they use the good, they take it, they rebrand it, and then they add in some dark shit like your Crowleyan dark side of cancer, whatever. Different conversation.
Is actually not evil.
Aleister Crowley had to do it. Check on the bingo board, brother. But my point being is Mark Passio talked a lot about how the ancient he said, according to what he learned, that shamanism was probably the most ancient form of human spirituality on the planet.
Wow.
And according to him, which I read this like 6 months ago, and then you just said it, someone who I have called a shaman too before I found out this specific bit of knowledge, but he said the 3 levels of shamanism were cannabis, mushrooms, and DMT.
Wow.
And he literally just said that.
Yeah.
From research.
Right, of course.
You know, from his
Yeah,
friends and anonymous aliases who have experienced these things.
Just to be like, I'm not like a reader. I don't do like a ton of research. Most of my my knowledge is based on like personal experiences or from people I've talked to that have been within the same realm.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, I'm not trying to regurgitate anything I've heard from anyone.
Yeah. I want to hear about.
I would love to hear.
I want to hear about these entities.
Yeah, absolutely. So there are how do you explain, something that you've never seen before?
I know.
It's rough. Let's just say we smoked some DMT right now.
Sure.
We're going through a tunnel. We took our 3 hits. We're laying down. You're going through the tunnel, and fractals start to envelop your vision.
It's like Star Wars. You're like going through
it's
hyperspace.
like literally,
maybe that's why they call it that.
literally like you're going into hyperspace.
Whoa.
And then once you get through that hyperspace, then you're almost in a deeper space, some space that you can't really put words onto. And then from the experiences I've heard, the entities will come from a further, from way off in the distance, and then will bring themselves to your field of vision. And then once they're in your field of vision, they don't. Sometimes they may speak words. Sometimes it may be a telepathic communication. Sometimes it may be a physical interaction. I've heard instances where individuals were licked on their forehead, and
I've heard of sexual type.
Same.
Yeah,
encounters.
absolutely.
Same.
Yeah, if you're
Sounds awesome.
yeah, if there are any sexual entities out there, that
we're all
wanna come
thinking
down.
it, right? We're all thinking it.
For sure.
It's
But
that DMT hyperspace tantra.
but the beings that you can observe can vary. They can be humanoid looking. They can be. I've heard instances of where they look like cat creatures. One
Joe
recent,
Rogan talks about like jesters. And
Jesters.
stuff.
yeah, jesters.
Clowns.
I've heard of
Gnomes. Gnomes are very
Gnomes.
popular that
Machine
have been
elves.
seen.
Serpent-like beings, stuff like
Yes.
that.
The one recent example that I was just observing was an individual. They said that the entity that they saw, it was like, imagine you're at a Chinese festival and they those dragons that they've got, the paper dragons.
Yeah.
So it was like a combination of that mixed with some sort of cat feline figure. And then when it approached them, it wrapped themselves up in the person and then licked their forehead, and all this sort of like wisdom was bestowed upon them.
That's some Hayao Miyazaki shit.
It's pretty wild. And then there was another instance recently I heard of where an individual was met by 2 personages. One was what seemed to be like Mother Mary. It was they had the what's the getup that Mother Mary would wear?
It's like kind of like the thing over her head. She's
Yeah,
always
exactly.
depicted it like
Yeah.
kind of like
Exactly.
like the nun's robes
That-
kind of thing.
that was the
in
most-
Catholic iconography.
That was the most notable feature and aspect of her, and then alongside of her was an Egyptian jackal
Ooh.
with a little
like
neck-
Anubis.
like Anubis, but it didn't have the. I guess it wasn't as high in stature as Anubis. It seemed like a lesser to that.
Right.
Like it was
That's
just
so cool,
like
man.
it was a servant to
Maybe
Mother
some
Mary.
higher entity.
Yeah,
Interesting.
but
The combination.
the lady or the I don't know what to call. I don't want to call her Mother Mary if that's not her, but I'll just call her the lady.
Sure.
She put her hand on this individual's chest, and she lifted her hand up, and it was like this grid like pulled up out of the center of their chest, and it was like there was some like recalibration being done, and then after she put that thing back in the person's chest, the jackal had some sort of lamp,
illumination iconography, the lamp of wisdom.
It was really weird. It was legitimately like
symbol.
the Aladdin genie's lamp. He took it and poured something into this individual's mouth, and the individual before they had when they had came out of the trip, they literally had to spit something out of their mouth, and it was really really weird. But they also saw two sphinxes, one black and one white, and it was on both sides, and they were on this big sandy plain. They were walking down a path, and it was like this big galaxy sort of background. So the point I'm getting at is that like your DMT experience can be drastically different from one time to another. One time you may experience some sort of benevolent mantis-like insectoid being. Another time you may encounter, someone that looks almost identical to yourself, but is like a higher form, someone that looks more evolved, someone that looks like they're maxed out in 99 stats. They're level 99 in all of their stats, but it's you. But you can, there's so many different things and entities and things you can perceive while on this highest level psychedelic. So,
dude, that's crazy, and that's a great place to wrap up the psychedelic conversation.
Absolutely.
I've just been informed. I had a brain fuck right there. Hearing your story. I was kind of getting chills listening to your story. Seriously, I was getting chills. But we've been informed by our producer that we are at the first time checkpoint, so we're going to shift gears. Absolutely. Marki, that was incredible, and I have to say, whoever that individual was who had some of those experiences,
same journey,
100%, in my humble opinion, experienced a psychic initiation into some sort of illumination, whatever.
Can I ask one follow-up question? From what you've experienced, what you've been around, what you've observed from other people or whatever, have you noticed a sense of consistency on what people see, like different people taking it see? Like I saw a story of someone who did DMT and they met this purple lady and formed a relationship with this purple lady, and they did it multiple times, and every time same purple lady, like they knew each other for thousands of lifetimes. And then he got his friend to do it for the first time, and his friend was like, while he was fully like tripping, actually when he came out of it, he said, yeah, there was this purple lady and she was asking for you.
Yeah, it's
interesting.
Yeah,
it's on YouTube.
It's common themes, I think.
I'll show you. It's crazy.
I've heard of instances where beings will do something like place ownership on a person. Not to say that they like own that person, but it's like there's like a deep level of connection between that person and that entity. And they will show up not only in their DMT experiences, but they may also show up in their dreams, or there does seem to be in some cases people that have ongoing connections with these beings.
I'd like to think those are like spirit guides or like guardian angels or whatever instance or thing that you can call them. I think that if that does happen, that's someone important that you should probably focus a little bit more energy into. That's an important connection.
And it is important if you ever decided to do this, that you manifest some sort of guardian to guide you on your journey while on this drug. So
for sure,
that's epic.
Wow.
So so I just think for the rest of the time we have here, and don't feel like you have a time limit. I'm just
totally
saying,
not.
We're at a checkpoint. We're going to switch gears.
Okay,
cool.
So for the rest of the episode, I would really like you to just kind of dig your heels into the sand and tell the story.
Okay, cool.
Get like ready, we said, y'all.
Sit back for this.
Hyping the story up.
No, dude, it is hype. It doesn't need to be hyped. It's a crazy story.
Okay.
Bobby.
So to give background, yes, we grew up Mormon, and one thing to do is like a rite of passage is to go on a mission at the age of 19, 20, 21. I think I went a little bit later at 20 or 21. I can't remember.
You did what? 2 years?
2 years, and it's 2 years.
So you're there the entire 2 years.
So you were out at BYU Idaho?
I was out at BYU Idaho for I think 2 or 3 semesters, and then during that time I was very heavily into going to church and reading and all sorts of stuff. So I was more or less
active at that point.
And I felt like, I want to help. I want to experience the world in this way. So I'm going to go on the mission and experience it for what it is. And so I filled out my papers, and, it's like an application, and you have to get tested to see if you're healthy and all sorts of stuff. And so I sent it over, and the prophets, they got my paper, and they looked at my name, and what the process is, or from what I've been explained to it, is they have a giant map, and they have like a projector with my face on it, and they look at my face, and look at the map, they look at my face, they look at my map, and then they say a prayer, and divination or revelation or whatever it is, they know where to send you.
Wow.
And they sent me to Argentina in South America. So they sent me to like a little school to teach me how to be a missionary. It's essentially like a traveling priest. And they taught me how to read from the Bible and the Book of Mormon and other scriptures, or just how to establish the habit of learning. And then also they taught me 6 weeks of Spanish, which was...
How much did that help?
Not at all. not a little bit. And the Spanish they taught me was, my teacher he spoke like, I guess, Mexican Spanish.
Okay.
And I'm going to Argentina, which is Castilian.
Yeah.
It's like proper Spanish.
It's a different dialect.
You learn Castilian in like high school. That's the official dialect
yes,
you learn.
It would be like speaking vosotros, but like no one says vosotros in Argentina. It's just vos.
It's more formal, or?
It's less formal.
Oh,
Vos is like... if you speak to someone in the United States or in Mexico and you say vos, they'll get really angry at you. They don't like. It's really like
hoity-toity.
No. It's not hoity-toity. It's like you're like a ghetto person or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I'm getting it mixed up.
Anyway. So I get there. I can't speak Spanish. Yada yada. Learning Spanish. They're in the mission, you get transferred to different areas of your, like, say, country. And so I was in Buenos Aires for the majority of it. And I got transported from, Avellaneda to El Parque to Chascomús to different places in Argentina to teach people about the Bible. I would help out with the church. I would do a lot of their, like, giving of the sacrament, the bread and the water to the church members, because, the church isn't really fully established down in South America, or
sure. So
there were some places where it would be like me and my companion, and then like one other person, and it would just be us, and we would teach them class, and then that would be our Sunday. And sometimes it would be a full church, and we'd have 200 people or something like that. So it would vary. And so I got to this one section of Buenos Aires. It was called Tolosa, and we lived in a nice little apartment in an apartment complex. There were not very big complexes, but for Argentina, it was pretty nice. And I was there for probably 7 or 8 months, and I had been staying there with I don't want to name drop too much, but
yeah, that's okay.
We go by elder. We go by elder as missionaries. So I would be Elder McGann. So I was with Elder Santos, Elder Castello, and Elder Muniz, and 2 of them were from Brazil and 1 from Utah. And we all shared an apartment together. And we'd study together, and we'd have fun together, and we'd go shopping together, and all sorts of stuff. And
you're with them pretty much like 24/7.
You're with one person your entire 2 years. So I would change partners throughout the year, but I'm always with someone.
Gotcha.
So my companion was Elder Muniz from Brazil, and we shared a bunk bed together, and the other guys shared their own beds. And so we had this little apartment, and it hadn't been made known to anyone, but apparently our apartment was stealing electricity and gas from a neighbor.
What?
And the landlord saw this, and he said, "You guys have to disconnect the thing, and we'll have someone out, and we'll have someone out to fix it, soon." And we were like, "Okay,
soon."
And so it started off with one day, and we unplugged the electricity, and it was literally just copper wires. It was literally, I touched them with my hand, and I got shocked.
I just wanted to add this because you've told me this story before. If I remember correctly, this was a very poverty-stricken village.
This one was actually Argentina in general is very poverty-stricken, and I was in more impoverished areas. This was in a nice. They try and place you in nicer areas so you don't get robbed or
fucking killed.
Yeah. So I was to begin with, I was in a nicer area. Say it's like Fayetteville. Sure. I was in an outer portion of Fayetteville.
Sure, gotcha.
So I'm a little bit out of the city, so it's not super dangerous. but we would walk or bike to the city to go and meet people or whatever. So it wasn't completely impoverished, but it was nothing like we have here in the United States. So we got our electricity cut and our gas cut. We didn't get our gas cut. We could still use the gas
stove. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so we were living without electricity. So what we had to do was we had to go buy candles from the store, and we would.
How long were you without electricity?
The entire time. After 1 month of living there with electricity, I was there for 5.5 more months of electricity, and then and at the tail end of the story, we illegally wired it back up because we wanted electricity again, and then we eventually got electricity for real towards when I was leaving. So like a week before I left, we got real electricity.
Gotcha.
So I'm living without electricity. And in Argentina, how they heat their water for showers is they literally have like a little box that has an electric current going through it, and it heats up the pipe. And
what?
Yeah. It was a little scuffed, so we would. It was a little scuffed, so we didn't have hot water either. So we were living with no
cold
light
showers
and cold
in the winter.
showers every morning in the winter.
Whoa.
2 years, bro.
In the winter.
This wasn't the entire 2 years, but it was
okay.
It was 5.5, 6 months of pain, and
that literally made me shiver.
Yeah.
Just hearing that. Yeah. Oh my god.
It's surprisingly mind opening when you take cold showers every day.
It's apparently like a spiritual thing. Like,
It's really a thing.
Senses.
I mean, I would take 2-second cold showers, but and sometimes we'd heat the pot and we'd dump the pot on our head and stuff like that. But
that's what I'd be.
But that would take too much time. So anyway, we're out of light, and we would have our companions or whoever was out at the time go to the grocery store. We called them the chinos. They're just Chinese. The Chinese people always run the grocery stores. Yeah. We could like go to the chinos and we'll get some candles. And we did that for a long time. We would have just whatever candles they sold there, we would buy them. It come to the point that I'm pretty sure we bought out every single candle over the course of like the 6 months or 5 months. And we couldn't buy candles there. And then there was another store that sold candles, but it was outside of our like district, and we weren't really allowed to leave our district. So we said, we'll just find a different place. And so we found a Santeria, which is like a Santeria. The store Santeria would like
the religion Santeria?
No. The store is called La Santeria. They would just sell like religious stuff.
Okay.
They would like the candles with Jesus and the popes or St. Thomas or whoever. They would sell those, but they sold them for like a lot of religions in Argentina.
Huh.
And a little known fact. In Argentina, there's like a lot of voodoo in
totally.
Santeria is a form of voodoo that's in like Spanish speaking countries.
Yeah,
I don't know if there's a correlation to the store, but that Santeria is a practice too.
Right.
Totally.
So to dissect a little bit more, the different religions that I would come across on the daily was like just normal evangelicals, Catholic, a lot of Catholics, some Mormons, and then some of the more. They would be like different sects of Catholicism would be like they would worship like pagan saints. So there was one saint called San Gauchito Gil. He was like a gaucho, which is like a cowboy of Argentina. And he would what he was sainted for, granted sainthood, was he would rob from the rich and give to the poor. He was like Robin Hood. But
is this the patron that people would have tattoos of?
They would, but not for the purpose of like gaining stuff.
Oh, okay.
Is this the same thing that like Saint Muerta is a part of?
San La Muerte.
The guy I was telling you about that I work with now, he worships the Saint Muerta.
Beware of him.
he's a great guy.
They usually are.
He's covered.
Wait, are we talking about the Saint Muerta?
A lot of them are awesome people. I met a handful of people that were just. They were respectful, at least.
Sure, yeah.
They didn't always see eye to eye to us, but they were at least respectful, and they gave us, our space or whatever. But a lot of people worship San Gauchito Gil. They would leave him like beer or cigarettes at his little like, I don't know what it's called. His little like
shrine.
It was like a little shrine altar thing.
That's all.
They would be on like corners everywhere
in
Argentina.
So cool.
And so they would leave cigarettes or stuff that's like important to you. You'd offer it to San Gauchito Gil, and he would give it to your gaucho uncle or whoever, and they'd share the experience.
That's cool.
And people would pray to him to bring them riches or to just help them with their daily life,
alleviate suffering or whatever.
Alleviate suffering. And a lot of their religion was based around red candles. You'd always see red candles at their shrines, or if they had a shrine in their own house, they would be red candles, which was, sussy, to say the least.
Sussy.
And then there was also San La Muerte, which is what you're talking about, which they would have black candles. There would be little shrines of the Grim Reaper, and people would pray to them for physical, monetary items, or just success, or whatever it was, at a cost.
Uh-huh.
And so, I didn't know any of this prior to any of the stuff that happened, but I learned later on. Anyway, so we're running out of candles, and one of the other guys that we were living with said, there's no candles, so we're going to go to the Santeria. We're going to go grab some candles. They ended up buying San Gachito Gil, his red candles.
Okay.
And he brought it back, and the packages that come with the candles, they come with a little prayer. And if you say the prayer and then you ask for something, it's supposed to happen.
Huh.
And for Mormons, it's like, you don't say the prayer. You don't. Yeah.
Sure.
You can use the candles. Just don't say the prayer. Don't pray to Gachito Gil or whatever. Just, leave it alone.
Just use it like a normal candle.
And so we strip the packages and we toss out the cards and we use the candles for a while. And I hadn't known this at the time, but one of my companions had kept the card, and apparently he had been reading it just for fun, not thinking, he was superstitious, but not in the sense that it's like, oh, it's just this random gaucho guy, this random, cowboy.
Probably didn't believe it was real or anything.
And I mean, and I didn't really either. I didn't think it would really happen.
But lo and behold.
Yeah. So he kept the little prayer card, and he would say it, and I don't know if he prayed to them or not, but we lit the candles regardless, and we used them, and then all sorts of weird stuff started happening when we had these candles. The first thing that happened for that was odd was a door would be open, and our door shut pretty well, so and there wasn't a whole lot of wind in our apartment complex, so so it was very odd that the door was open, and we left it up to one of the guys left it open and just didn't want to claim it.
Like the front door?
Front door.
Oh. That would immediately, that's
front door.
Suspicious.
Yep.
And then another night goes by, and a window's open, and then we had these pane glass doors that would open wide like butterfly wings, and we had them in the front of our house, in the back of our apartment, in each of our rooms, and then one would go, and we had a door to our in our little kitchen area to go to our little patio in the back, and then one night we wake up and every single one of them are open. Every single window,
all of them?
every single one, every single window was open, every single door was open, the back door was open, the front door was open, and I didn't wake up to see this. I just been told, who's opening all these doors, and some guys like to sneak out at night and go to the clubs or meet people or whatever it was. So we just assumed someone left and was being an idiot and left all the doors open or something like that. But it was definitely jarring.
Left up to human error or something.
The first time that I encountered something myself was in Argentina. We drink a lot of mate, and we'd prepare our mate with just putting the kettle on the.
What's mate?
Mate is like a little
yerba mate.
Yerba mate, except it's heated with
It's an
heated.
extremely powerful kind of tea.
It's like a
it's like a
wheat,
tea,
right?
It's like a green tea.
It's almost as caffeinated as coffee.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
it's a really strong drink. Surprisingly, they let us drink it, so we drink it all the time.
Yeah,
Because
Mormons
it
aren't supposed to
technically
drink
doesn't
caffeine,
have
but they-
caffeine.
It's
chemically different.
I don't know what the English word is, but it's mateina, which is caffeine, but
Yeah,
It's a
Caffeine
different
mate.
chemical compound, or
I couldn't tell.
that's
you.
what was explained to me. I could
But
be
it
wrong,
does make you hyper, and it makes you crap your pants. So, if you drink it, you better be close to the
yeah, I
bathroom.
remember I tried it once and had this bitter taste.
Oh, it's
it was
very bitter.
It tasted like hay or
Yeah,
wood
it's really
or
grassy,
something.
earthy.
Yeah,
I love shit that tastes like that. So I love.
I have a ton at
We've
home.
got-
I should have
he's
brought
got a-
some.
Oh man.
I should have brought them next time for
Yeah,
sure.
we'll bring
And you
some.
drink it with a certain cup and a certain straw, bombisha, and it's really cool. It's really cultural and
That sounds awesome. I love shit like that.
and it's customary to pass it to each other. You drink and we would teach people and we would drink mate with people and you just pass it around and you're pouring water into it together. So anyway,
Ooh.
besides the point, the first thing that happened to me directly was, we have no lights and I wanted to make mate. It's fairly dark. I go over to the stove and I put the stove on and I leave a candle there. Lit candle, lit stove, kettle on the fire, and And I just left it there. I went back. It takes a minute to heat up, so I was gonna go read or take a dump or something. I don't know. And when I came back, my candle was blown out. The door was open. Kettle was moved off of the fire. The fire was turned off. And
what?
And it's again, it's customary. Like for Mormon missionaries, we're all bros. We play jokes on each other.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I was fairly, aware that if someone would have gone into the kitchen, because I can see it from like anywhere in the house.
You would have heard it.
I would have heard it
Yeah.
for sure. And the door squeaked, so I would have heard that, I guess, too. And I was like, guys, like, you messed up my mate. It's funny. And they were like, no, we didn't touch anything. And I was like, all right, cool. That was pretty creepy.
Yeah.
Again.
I immediately would have gotten out.
Yeah. And then an elder, we all started having odd dreams, like very like dreams of like anguish or like pain or like just uncomfortableness or like rejection. It was just
all of you.
Yeah, I did. I know one other elder that did. I can't speak for the other two. We both started having very odd dreams.
Wow.
And so the night that it happened was probably one of the most impactful nights of my life, where again, like I didn't fully believe in like demonic presence or ghosts or whatever, or spirits or whatever. It was, half of my mind, because if angels exist, then I guess demons have to as well. But it was never like, I've never seen an angel, so I've never seen a demon, and so good can only exist, and yada yada. And so we're going to bed at night, and as we're missionaries or like priests or whatever, we usually pray before bed. And so I go into my room with my companion, and we have bunk beds. And what my companion liked to do is he'd like to kneel in the middle of the room and pray, and I would kneel over my bed and pray. And he usually prayed longer than I would, and that was just a him thing. And so usually I would finish before him, and I'd climb in bed, and then I would hear him jump up onto the top bunk. And so I'm praying, and it's like 15 minutes. I'm praying for a long time, because I'm praying for people that I know, or for success, or for whatever it is, for my family. And I get into bed. I'm like, okay, and he's still praying. But when I looked at him, he wasn't kneeling anymore. He's just standing up. He was just standing in the middle. And I was like, odd.
Yeah.
Odd.
Yeah.
Very odd. And so I got in bed, and I just said, good night, Elder Manise. And I turned towards my bed, and I was looking at the wall. And then I heard the other elders go to bed. They said good night to me. They say, we all just say good night. And my companion is still praying. And so I'm sleeping, or like trying to sleep at least. And I'm looking towards the wall, and then I hear my companion jump up onto his bed. And I was like, good night, Elder Manise. And he's like, good night, Elder McGann. And not like 5 minutes go by, and he says, I don't feel good. And this is all in Spanish. He's like, I don't feel good. I was like, you want some like Tums or something, or like ibuprofen? He's like, no, just like, I feel like sweaty. I feel like uncomfortable. I was like, oh, well, I mean, take off a layer of clothing and or something. Like it's winter, so it was cold, but maybe you could have,
Did you
had
have any inkling at this point that something was fishy?
Not really. I mean,
Right.
A lot of paranormal stuff happened while I was in Argentina to begin with, prior to this. But like, I always just kind of dismissed it, or just like, just let it go. Just let it go.
Yeah.
So in the moment, it's hard to like think like demons or
Right.
like spirits
Sure.
or whatever. So he gets in it, and he's telling me, he's like, I don't feel good. And I was like, okay, well, go to the bathroom or take a dump or like whatever. And he's like, no, it's not like that. I just don't feel comfortable. I was like, I'm sorry, dude. I don't know what to do for you. You want me to pray for you? He's like, I guess. Said a prayer, and it was done. And 5 minutes go by again. He's like, Elder, like, I really don't feel good. And I'm still like turning towards the wall, so I'm not seeing anything that's in the room. And the other elders in the other room, we didn't share a room, all four of us, just two of us. The other elders are hearing our conversation. They're like, guys, just go to bed. You'll like feel fine later.
Was the one that didn't feel good, was he the one that read the card?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, see, I didn't realize that the
Yeah.
first time.
Yeah. Elder Manise had read the card. Yeah.
It's about to get worse. It's about to get a lot worse.
And I was just like, okay, like it's customary for Mormons, if you're sick or if you have like an illness, you can give blessings. And so I was like, Elder Manise, do you want us to give you a blessing? And he was like, no, like not if I don't really need it. And I was like, okay. And again, he's like, I really don't feel good. I feel like someone's watching us. And I was like, I like when he said that, like I got a shiver, and I was like, like who? And then the other Elder Santos in the other room was like, guys, just leave it alone. Like he was spooked. He was like, guys, leave it alone. Say your prayers. You'll be fine. Go to bed. Close your eyes.
He didn't want
He didn't want anything to do with it. And I was like, I don't really know what to do because he's not saying he's physically ill. He just feels uncomfortable. So I don't know how to help him. And he's like, I feel like someone's watching us. And I was like, okay, whatever. Try and go back to sleep. And he says, Elder, do you see that in the room?
No.
And I was like, where? And he says, in the corner. And I look, our bed is, facing this way, like this room. In that corner, to my diagonal where my gaze is, there's a shadowy figure.
You saw it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
Shadowy figure. And
Did it like reach the ceiling? Do you remember how tall it was?
I would say it was probably about the height of a normal, like 6-foot man. To me, it felt masculine because it was like intimidating. It was more intimidating than anything I'd ever seen before, and it looked like there was like floss, like in the shape of a man,
like it had an outline,
like an outline, and then in the middle of like the floss outline, it was just like blurry or obscure.
That's what I saw.
Mm-hmm.
In the room with Alex. Well, I mean, it wasn't the same entity, but it wasn't like, I don't describe it as floss, but it had a very clear outline, and in the middle you could.
Distinct.
It was kind of like a shimmer.
I could see through it, but it was very hard to see through it, and I could see the visible black around it. So it was definitely something different.
No.
Mm-hmm. Sorry.
No, that was just relating. Okay. Like I've experienced something similar.
Was short, right?
Yeah.
Is that the one that there's the picture of? Where it looks like the shadow.
No, there was actually one with our friend Alex and Ryan. It was just the two of them, and it was in the room.
Yeah, but it wasn't like a demonic entity. It was a very
I have another
nice
story similar to that, like a short one. Yeah, but
but anyway, so you saw the thing in the corner.
So I see the I'll say it's a masculine figure and it's looking at us.
So it had eyes.
It didn't have eyes, but I felt like he was looking at me.
It was like positioned.
It was a dark shadow.
It was positioned towards us, like it was staring at us, and it's fairly far away. So I was like, I felt like it was looking like into me. I was like, Elder Manise, I see it. And he's like, what do I do? What do I do? And I was like, I don't know, like tell it to get out. And he was just like, get out. And it didn't work. It didn't work. And so another thing in Mormon like culture or whatever it is, there's the power of like the right arm, the square it's called, where you put your arm up to like a 90-degree angle, and that gives you like the power of like a priesthood or divinity or
channels energy.
It's like channeling.
Yeah, it's like a rod.
God's power into you, I guess.
For instance, when you're baptizing someone, you'll hold your right arm up, and then you'll say the baptism prayer, and then like you'll dunk them.
And bestow it, I guess, through you to them or whatever. So you're like receiving, God's, power or will.
It's a sign of strength.
That's some sacred geometry shit.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely a topic. And so we're doing that. And he goes, I'm putting my arm up, and I'm like, okay, we'll say. And he's like, get out in the name of Jesus Christ. And he didn't do it. And I was like, he was like, you do it. And I was like, get out in the name of Jesus Christ. And it still didn't go out.
No.
And so we're doing this for like 30 seconds. We're like saying it, shouting it. And we have neighbors, and they're probably hearing us. We're like, get out in the name of Jesus Christ. You're not allowed to be here. Get out in the name of Jesus Christ. You're not allowed to be here. And finally I saw, after a handful of times of doing it, I saw like the head portion of it. It looked like it shook its head. It was like, okay.
Like it nodded?
It nodded. It said, okay. And as soon as it did that, I saw it position. It was facing towards us. It positioned to walk out of our room. And I followed it with my gaze all the way through my room.
No way.
It walked all along the wall, turned about face, and walked through the door. And it started walking into the other guy's room.
No.
Mm-hmm. Started walking into the other guy's room. And from my bunk, I'm on the bottom bunk. I can see into the other room, and I can see one of the guy's beds, Elder Costello.
Were they freaking out that you guys were?
They were like crying. They were really upset. They're like,
remember originally the one elder was so freaked out. He was just like, I just go to bed, stop. He was obviously petrified.
And I didn't know this till afterwards, but he was like on his knees praying, and he's like, please, like, let this be okay. Like, don't let anything bad happen to us. And so he was praying, and the other elder was just laying down in his bed, and he was like, guys, like, I don't feel good. And I watched this figure go out of our room, go into their room. And then it got to the edge of Costello's bed and bent down to his toes, like his head to his toes, and then it just disappeared.
No.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And
No fucking way.
immediately, the elder started having a seizure, and
No.
he started having a seizure, and the guy that was praying started hearing his bed shaking, and he ran over and he says, "Guys, Elder Costello's having a seizure." And I wasn't over there yet, but he was like grabbing his head and like looking at his eyes. He said his eyes rolled back, and he was having a legit seizure. And again, for more context, he said, and made it clear to me that he's never had a seizure in his life, and to this day I still talk to him a little bit, and he's never had a seizure since. So it was
Directly related to the experience.
directly related, I'd say. And so he started having a seizure, right? And so I'm focusing this way, and they're like, "Guys, come on, come help!" And as I'm getting up to get out of my bunk, I look over to my to my left, and there was another shadowy figure, same like floss outline, and it was leaning into my bunk, and it was looking at me the entire time.
No, it was right there.
So I'm laying down, and it's looking over top of me the entire time. And
my God.
and I didn't notice. I got up and I saw it, and then I started moving forward to run to the elder that was having the seizure. And all I remember was I was running. I blacked out. I had I couldn't see anything, and then all of a sudden I ran into the closet on the other side of the room. Like I was
Like
out
collided into the wall.
I like physically slammed into it, and it hurt my face. And I had no idea how I'd gotten. Like I don't know if I stumbled or like this thing if walking through it like did something to me. I don't know. But I was all of a sudden, my head hurt. I was on the other side of the room. I don't remember how I ran over there and
went through it.
Yeah, I went through it.
Oh my
I guess it's bottom portion. And whatever. I was like, oh, my face hurts. And I run into the other room and I see Elder Costello, and he's like stiff, and he's like holding himself, and he's like he's really gripping his bed, and he's like trying not to like seize up, I guess. I don't know. And we're like, Elder Costello, like, and so we're giving him a blessing, and we're trying to like help him stop. And one of the elders is like, one of you has to go. We had like an extension cord with one tiny little light bulb, and we would run out into the terrace and plug it into one of the public outlets. So I ran with the extension cord, plugged it in, and we got one little light bulb, and we hung it up on the door. And that was like all of our light. And so we finally got Elder Costello to stop having a seizure. We gave him a blessing, and we were about to call medical service. We had like a mission nurse, and we were about to call her, but it was like 4 a.m. or 3 a.m. or something. And we didn't, and we didn't really want to talk about what was happening.
Yeah.
Because no one would really believe us.
Yeah, I've been down that road.
Yeah, it was very uncomfortable to talk about afterwards. But
yeah, if you ever feel an uncomfortable presence, turn all of the lights on.
Turn all the lights on.
Yeah, lights on.
If you don't have lights, get out of your house.
Whoa.
So then what happened next?
So we have the little light, and it doesn't quite reach the room, but we hung it on the door, and so we had like a tad bit of light that would reach into the room, and the living room was illuminated. And so we calmed down Elder Costello, and he's like, I'm fine, but like the entire time, like, and he was like, where am I? As soon as he woke up, he's like, where am I? What are we doing? He's like, you didn't feel anything? He's like, no, all I remember is this weird shadow like coming over me, and then now I'm here. And my body hurts, and like I don't feel good, and we're like, all right, well, let's just calm down. And so we pushed the 2 beds together, we got the mattresses together, and then we all decided to sleep together. And we were like, we're not gonna go to sleep. We're gonna try and stay awake as long as possible. We had like a hymn book, so we sang hymns, we said prayers together for like the entire night, until the sunshine came and it shone through the windows. So the entire night we're trying to keep in good spirits. And so I'm sitting on this bed, and I'm looking into the other room to see if like anything's happening. Every time I like leaned over to look into the other room, I see the little figure lean himself out too.
No way.
And then
did you tell them?
Yeah, I was like, guys, it's looking at us, and it would creep. There was the door frame. He was slightly behind the door frame, and he would peek out and stare at us, and I would stare at him. And then as soon as I would get my gaze on him, it was like he would acknowledge that I was seeing him. And then he would just move back. And that happened 2, 3, 4 times throughout the rest of the night. Not only me, with the other elders. They would look, he would be there. And I don't know about the other one, because the only other one. There was 2. There was one that was still in the room. That was I think that was the one that was looking at us, peeping at us. And in that room, throughout the rest of the night, we had coat hangers in a closet, and we heard the coat hangers click, clack the entire night, one after another, like someone was running their hand through them, click, 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 the entire night. And we had a guitar in the living room, and the entire night, every once in a while, a guitar string would be plucked, like fairly harshly too. It was like you're plucking a fairly hard pluck. It was like every once in a while, I would just pluck, and then curtains, and it was
trying to.
It was definitely trying to intimidate us. It was trying to
Terrify
feed on the fear.
The more you are aware and focusing on what they're trying to do and how they're trying to scare you, the more it infests itself into you.
And it works. It works though. You are scared.
You
don't know.
You just I feel like in that sort of situation, you would just have to like be in at your highest level of fortitude and resolve. Like you just can't focus on what is going on around you. Just focus on
Thank
light,
God it was
white,
a bunch
and
of
goodness.
missionaries.
There were other instances where we went to possessed houses or other things, and we would, bless their house. In our case, I guess our apartment was now like not cursed, but like haunted, or there were haunted, beings.
There
of
was
sorts.
a doorway open.
Someone invited something in. Well, obviously that one elder. So
the ending of this story is fucking wild. So I'm not trying to rush you. I'm very interested. What happened next?
So.
I'm on the edge of my seat.
I am too, and I've heard this story.
So, I again, like the day afterwards, we blessed the house. I mean, we still didn't have light. We still didn't have like anything like commodity wise. So we decided to sleep out in the living room for a long time.
With the beds together?
With the beds, all the mattresses together.
Huddled up.
Yep.
We didn't use candles anymore. So we just survived in the darkness until we could. Damn. And we did a house blessing. We would all take turns saying a certain prayer, and we bless the house and ask any like evil spirits to leave or anything that's negative to leave. And it didn't quite work for a while. Again, we were having really odd nightmares or dreams or whatever, and
but didn't see the shadow figures.
No longer see. After that instance, we didn't see in that place. For me at least, I didn't see it in that place. I saw it other places, in dreams, in other facets of my mission in the 2 years. I did
the same shadowy figure.
I can't say that it's the same one, but
look the same,
almost identical. Yeah, so sure, it's sure.
Whoa.
My Elder Santos, he wakes up one day and he's crying, and I'm like, Elder Santos, what's wrong? He said, I just had the most horrible dream. And I said, what? And he said, I woke up in my dream and I could see my body and I could see all of us. And I went into your room and I saw you guys were sleeping and I saw myself sleeping. And it's the middle of the night and I heard someone knocking at the door. And I went to go open the door and no one was there. And so I decided to look around in the parking lot to see if someone knocked on our door because it's late at night. Maybe they need help or something. So he ends up walking out and the door closes behind him. And he's looking around and he's looking through like the parking lot. There's a close parking lot. And he's looking through the parking lot for someone and he doesn't see anyone. So he turns to go back. And in his dream, he saw exclusively on our apartment, shadow figures on each window, each door, each wall, just pounding, like scratching, all of them trying to come in. And he said, I waited there, in my dream at least, I waited there for 20, 30, 40 minutes, just waiting for them to disappear, and they never did.
I think you forgot to mention the part how you guys anointed the house with oil finally.
Right. Yeah,
and correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't you guys sleep huddled up like that for like 2 weeks after the first night?
Wait, I don't know the exact date, but yes,
it was like several days.
Several days we pushed our mattresses together in
after the first night.
After that, yes. After that terrible night, we pushed our mattresses together, and every night we would come home, we'd make dinner, and we'd sit and try and read with what light we could, and then we'd all sleep on our mattresses together. If we heard anything in the night, we would wake up. But what you're talking about with the oil was. Again, we have consecrated oil that we use for blessings and house blessings as well. And we anointed the house with oil in each corner of the house, each doorway, which is not customary of Mormons to do, but we did it just because it felt like it would. I don't know. In a sense that it was like it's where they appeared, like the corners of the room and the doorways in the room, and
That's a thing in Christianity too, like the oil in certain parts of the house and stuff.
So yeah, we had our consecrated oil and we spread it around and we said many prayers, and we did it multiple days. We said prayers multiple days to bless the house, and at first they didn't go away, and then my friend had the odd dream, and to this day he says he doesn't know how he saw his body. He was not a person to like experiment with out of body stuff, or astral projection or whatever it was, but he had that dream and he saw just immense amount of like painful figures trying to get into our room, and all of them have had not like negative consequences, but they all feel dampened in a way afterwards. And I feel like it's the same way throughout the rest of the 2 years. I saw a recurring figure or certain evil or negative experiences that immediately felt like I was placed back in that apartment. And they ended up booting us all out. They were said no. Again, like
got transferred.
We got transferred out of there because there was a mission president, and he kind of scolded me for not mentioning it to him. He said, why didn't you bring this to me? And I said,
it was traumatizing.
I was like, it's really hard to talk about, and I didn't want anyone to laugh at me. And he's sitting me down, and he says, well, that stuff can be made up, and you're with 2 elders from Brazil, and they're very superstitious.
Whoa.
So not everything you see is real, or it could be all in your head. And I was like, this is why I didn't tell you.
It's like kind of like brainwashing, low key.
Sure.
But it just made a little bit of a doubt that it was like, well, if angels exist, then why can't demons, and why can't they infest our apartment like they did? And,
Yeah.
Well, it was invited in through a ritualistic prayer.
Literally.
And
yeah.
A candle in a car. That's all it takes.
The craziest part to me is how you guys like blessed the house up for days and days and days.
Mm-hmm.
And like the kicker here is you really believed you had the power because you were elders.
Yeah,
for,
sure.
for me, it's the belief. Like you believed
Absolutely.
you had the power.
And thus manifested it.
Right. And then the guy has the nightmare that they're banging at the windows and they can't get in. Like it ends up being positive, but is that not the wildest thing? Like they literally had battles, praying, raising right angles. That's why I called him a wizard.
Dude, you're a wizard.
Because he had a real life battle with demonic
Sure, yeah.
entities and defeated them.
Yeah,
It's fucking wild.
I would say that in terms of good and bad, good doesn't always trump bad. It's like the yin yang symbol, where it's like if there's good, there's going to be an equal amount of bad, and I can only provide so much good because I'm a human. But who knows what this entity is or how negative it is? Who knows how much power it really has? And so it could have taken months. I have no idea because I left.
Yeah, it could have been
not too
subtly
long
sticking
afterwards.
around.
But it could still be there. I don't know. But I would say that if it is still there, that hopefully whoever's living there is all right.
Yeah.
So you continued having negative experiences up until the point you left.
Yeah, well, yeah, and still to this day, I still have. For when I came back, right off coming up from Argentina, I had a lot of. It wasn't like PTSD, but it was like I would wake up in the middle of the night and there would be, just like negative premonitions or
A slight amount of PTSD.
yeah,
That's definitely PTSD.
Yeah, because that was
Definitely
traumatic.
and that wasn't like the only thing that happened, but there were many instances of witchcraft going on. There was in one of my areas, there's a witch that somehow knew my companion's name, and we don't fully.
Whoa!
What?
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
one.
that is
Yo,
a
we gotta do a
different story
part
for a
two.
different
We gotta do a
time.
part two.
I'll save all the good.
We've
all the
definitely got to
goodies,
do a
but-
part two.
Yeah, we'll
'cause
definitely have to.
unfortunately, we have to wrap up.
Gotcha.
Yes.
There's tons of stories.
By the way, I don't even know what time are we even at, Alex? Like hour 45.
Yeah, it's.
Oh, yeah,
this,
sorry.
This is one. No. You're good. We wanted this. This is one of our kind of like special longer
No,
episodes.
we love long episodes with guests because it's just so much
Yeah,
fun.
it's
Time
fun.
flies.
But what I was gonna say is like you don't got to worry about that no more because you're in with the light being crew. You know what I mean?
For sure.
You're in with the Bledsoe family.
story is, but it's mind blowing.
I told you.
Definitely a fun party.
Yeah,
story
I've
for
heard
sure.
it so many times, and it's still. Yeah, it still gets.
We've been planning on trying to have y'all come on the show and tell this since we met. When did we meet? Like November, December?
I can't remember.
Yeah, but it's
it was-
been this
around
long
then.
that we've
Yep.
been sitting on this.
The instance that Ryan told me the skeleton of the story, I immediately said, we have to get them over here.
Yeah.
We have to talk to
Yeah,
them.
that was
I
Nick's
have to
idea.
know the
Nick was like, "Don't tell me anymore. Don't tell me anymore." For like 6
No
months.
spoilers.
Seriously, we do that. We do that. If we're talking some good shit, we're like, "Stop, save it for the show."
for
We
sure.
really do that.
Yeah.
I was doing it to you today.
Right,
I was like,
right
"Stop,
before the
stop,
talking
podcast,
about this
they were
earlier.
talking.
stop."
And we had to
Yeah,
stop
but
them.
man, I had a great time with you guys.
For sure,
I
yeah.
personally,
Absolutely.
I don't. Honestly, I don't even care what the listeners think. This was a very awesome episode
This is
to
really
me.
cool.
Favorite-
Storytelling.
This,
Storytelling.
it was just the having like real fresh faces on the sofa with us today, telling like awesome slice of life spiritual shit.
And dude, our viewers are going to eat this.
I hope so. I really hope
Hopefully
so.
you enjoyed my pain.
But like that was pretty profound what you boys just did, like opening up a lot of your past experiences and like some
It's
of
a
your
privilege.
traumatic and also some of your very positive stuff. That was very commendable, and I appreciate you guys being brave
Yeah.
and coming on because
Yeah, of course.
you know like the secret is we do have a pretty big show
Yeah.
at this point.
Yeah,
like,
congratulations, by the
Yeah,
way. You guys got
congrats
number
on it. You
one.
guys are
Was it
awesome.
number one or number two?
well, for
Number one in my heart.
for a few
There you
days,
go.
for a few days there, we were
Yeah.
rated number 2 spiritual
Good
podcast
job.
in America. But
Congratulations.
what I'm
You guys
saying
did
is like
hard
it
work,
was
man.
also pretty swag as fuck that you guys just showed up and just owned the microphone.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I really
Sure.
respect like
Thanks,
you
guys.
guys
Thank
did a
you for
great job.
bringing
Yeah,
us
thank you
on.
guys
Like,
as well.
this
Yeah.
is a
Really
wonderful
fun.
opportunity
was
to
awesome.
share our experience. Thank you so much.
So we're gonna hit them with the bye guys and
Oh, before that, can I give a quick shout out to my
Yeah,
loved ones?
absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely.
All right. Shout out mom, dad,
Mom,
my
dad.
kitty cat Jesse, Melvin. Yeah, Melvin Do, I love you, all of you guys. All right. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah,
Thank you
dude.
guys
No,
so much.
we'll be meditating on a part 2 for sure.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
all right.
coming.
So you know our tradition. I know you guys watch the show, so we're gonna hit them with a bye guys. You
All right.
ready? All right, on 3,
3,
1,
2, 1.
3. Bye, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to see more, check out our other videos.
And before you go, don't forget to subscribe. See you next week. Peace.